Top of the morning, security gang, and welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast studio. I've been away for a month. It's been a journey being away for that long. Like, I've never been away from my studio for that long of a period of time, and then traveled so much. I mean, if you look back at the last month worth of episodes, we were never really in the same place for too long, which was great. It was so much to talk about, and I've kind of laid that all out here. And we're looking at the help desk story here, but I did share my thoughts last night on AI in cybersecurity, kind of the buzzword of hacker summer camp, but really going all the way to my time in Israel right before that. So you can go and check that out. That's available on cyberhubpodcast.com. So packed show for all y'all today. Really a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. But before we do, you know what time it is? Double espresso time. And yes, I'm back home with my espresso, my machine. I brought a lot of Nespresso capsules from Israel. Like, literally, I had a carry-on luggage filled with Nespresso capsules. The reason for it, they have so many, and they're like 75% cheaper than you can get them here in the States. Like, in the States, a capsule's like 50 cents. In Israel, it's like 10 cents. Just do the math. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. So good. I had to take 2 sips. I'm sorry. Everyone knows the rules. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right, we're not going to Portnoy this one. All right, let's get started with data breaches. Columbia University now sending out notifications to over 860,000 individuals over the data breach that occurred over the summer. The school suffered an IT outage on June 24th and again on July 1st. It revealed it was caused by attackers who had stolen data from its network. In an August 5th update, the university said its investigation found that intruders obtained information about students and applicants, including files related to admission, enrollment, and even financial aid. The compromised information does include critical detail that is PII, like social security numbers, demographic information, academic history, financial aid information, which would be PII, insurance information, also EII and PII, and also some health information, which is PHI. Patient records at Columbia University's Irving Medical Center were not obtained by the attackers, the university highlights, so those networks seem to be segmented. The university on Thursday of last week telling the Maine Attorney General's office that they suffered a data breach infecting 868,969 people. Affected individuals are being notified and offered 2 years of free credit monitoring, fraud consultation, and identity theft restoration services. So we have that there. Google confirming that the Salesforce incident did compromise the information of Google ad customers. I was actually one of those victims. So we obviously do some ads on Google. So I got this notification, I believe last week, Wednesday or Thursday. I believe it was Thursday. It was like right. I saw it right after the show. I wish I would have seen it before the show. I would have talked about it. The company says payment information was not compromised, but some basic contact information and related notes were compromised by the event. The breach was conducted by shiny hunters who've been doing kind of this ongoing attack, going after CRM systems, exfiltrating information, then trying to extort those companies. And when those companies don't pay, they just leak that information out or sell it on the dark web. The threat actors are now referring to themselves as spider hunters to illustrate the overlapping group of people who are involved in the attack, potentially Scattered Spider being one of those, as shiny hunters and Scattered Spider decide, hey, let's come together and create a super team. I just want to say it didn't work out for LeBron, folks. Didn't work out for LeBron, so I don't know how it's going to work out for these guys. Too many egos in one team tend to actually be the downfall of a team. Databreaches.net is reporting that the threat actors have already sent an extortion demand to Google. They've demanded 20 Bitcoins or 2.3 million to not leak the data. We'll see if Google decides to pay that there as well. The U.S. federal judiciary confirming that it suffered a cyber attack on its electronic case management system that's hosting confidential court documents and is strengthening cybersecurity measures. The organization stated that while most documents in the system are public, there are certain sealed filings that contain sensitive information that is now protected with stricter access controls aimed at blocking attackers. The federal judiciary also said in a statement that they're taking additional steps to strengthen protection for sensitive case documents in response to a recent escalated cyber attacks of a sophisticated and persistent nature on its case management system. The statement comes in response to a Politico report earlier last week that claimed that a breach had occurred on the U.S. court system's case management system, exposing sensitive information, including the identities of confidential informants, which would be horrible. Also, probably unsealed indictments, meaning someone who might be facing a grand jury indictment who may not know that it's forthcoming if this information is compromised, could be given a heads up, could leave the country, could go to a non-extradited place, could beef up their defense, or could get rid of evidence. All in all, Bleeping Computer has contacted the U.S. federal judiciary as well as the U.S. DOJ, inquiring about the allegations made in the Political report, but were directed to the already published statement there. The Australian privacy watchdog is suing Optus, saying the country's second largest telecom failed for years to protect sensitive customer data during their September 2022 data breach, impacting nearly 10 million people on the island nation. The Office of the Australian Information Commissioner is alleging that Telecom, a fully owned subsidiary of Singapore-based Singtel, failed to take reasonable steps to protect personal information in a 3-year period leading up to the breach. So, the breach, which is one of the worst in Australia to date, resulted in the theft of data, including email addresses, dates of birth, and phone numbers, all of which technically outside of date of birth is public information. According to Optus tally, the breach included the active government IDs of 1.2 million customers and 17,000 valid Medicare ID numbers. They faced a potential fine of up to 21.9 trillion Australian dollars should the court levy the maximum penalty of 2.22 million for each of the 9.5 million individuals that bankrupt the company at this point. I mean, if that's the goal, go for it. I guess. I mean, is government going after business to bankrupt them over fines? And if that's the case, then how do you have an economy? So, Optus data telling ISMG Group at the time that the hack wasn't difficult and that he or she found an open database API not protected by authentication. The Australian Communication and Media Authority, in a separate lawsuit against Optus launched in June of last year, alleges a series of mistakes led the API to being unsecured from essentially 2018. They almost closed the loop in 2021, and then in 2022 there was a breach. You're going to have to show me more than that to say that was negligent and they failed to do it. Leaving one API unsecured doesn't, I don't buy it. Like, as a practitioner, I don't buy it because I know what it takes to run a security program. So if Australia's government's goal is to hold people responsible, which is fine if there's negligence, leaving an API open for that long is problematic. But is it criminal? Is it intentional? Or was it missed in a broader risk register? Was it missed in a broader framework type of approach to securing that specific API? And what were the reasons? Did the security team say, close it up, and then the DevOps team didn't do it? Like, a lot of questions there that I'm not sure we're going to get answers to, but nonetheless, you see that happening there. We move from data breaches to vulnerabilities where a Russian threat group is being observed exploiting the WinRAR 0-day vulnerability as part of an espionage campaign targeting organizations in Europe and Canada. That 0 days tracked the CVE 2025-8088, and it's been described as a path traversal flaw involving the use of alternate data streams. It would allow an attacker to create a specially crafted archive that causes WinRAR to extract files to a path defined by the attacker rather than the path specified by the users. According to ESET, the attacks involving were conducted by a Russian-linked threat actor named Rom-Com, not romantic comedy. Although it would be kind of nice if there was a threat actor who kind of had a good ending at the very end that we all know was very cheesy. Like, I took your data. I took it away from you, but here it is back. I knew I loved you, Optus. I knew I've loved you. Just kidding. Probably won't happen. But if you're going to be called rom-com, that would be a nice little thing back there. In the attacks exploiting the WinRAR 0-day, first observed by ESET, the attackers used spear phishing emails to send malicious archives disguised as resumes to the targeted individuals. The emails were highly targeted, suggesting the attackers had conducted reconnaissance to increase their chances of success. The attacks were aimed at Canada and Europe, targeting the vectors of financial, defense, manufacturing, and logistics. The firm said none of the targets were compromised. Had the attacks been successful, the specially crafted archives were designed to deploy various backdoors, including Snipbot, Rusty Claw, and Mythic Agent. So there's a stop there. So Microsoft Exchange has a vulnerability. That's CVE 2025-53786. It allows essentially for people to move from your on-prem Exchange server to your Microsoft Cloud environment. 29,000 servers as of the time this article was written, which I believe was a few days ago, still remain unpatched against this vulnerability. Microsoft has not found evidence of abuse in attacks. The vulnerability was still tagged as exploitation more likely because they consider the exploit code allowing consistent exploitation could be developed, increasing its attractiveness to attackers. According to scans from the security monitoring platform Shadow Server, more than 29,000 servers are still unpatched, over 7,000 in the US. We see many in Russia, China, Australia, as well as Europe, South America, and the Middle East, all there as well. Federal agencies were ordered to mitigate this vulnerability over the weekend. CISA issued an emergency directive 2502 ordering all federal civilian executive branch agencies, including DHS, Treasury, and Energy, to mitigate the Exchange vulnerability by Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. That's right now. So just FYI, if you haven't done that, you're not there. In recent months, we've talked a lot about help desk fraud, right? And we've seen this shiny hunters, scattered spider. What they're doing is they're going after help desks. They're resetting passwords. They're then moving laterally within your networks. Well, now we're kind of seeing this really come together. British authorities arrested 4 suspects in July 2025, which led to a slowdown in activity, but that was only temporary because, again, crime is decentralized, and when one falls, someone else comes into play. This reminds me a little bit, if you're into mob movies or TV shows, you always look at the hierarchy of how it works. Only over there, it was kind of set up like a military organization. One goes down, another comes up, another comes up, another comes up, and then kind of the government builds RICOs against them. Here, what we're seeing is you take down one group, one part of the chain, but because it's decentralized, another group fills it right away or shortly thereafter, and then it continues, maybe under the same name, under a different name, but it continues, maybe not with the same efficiency as the number one pick that you took down, but the number 2, 3, and 4 picks are still very capable. The playbook and data extortion by these criminals is really effective because what they're building on is initial access, attacks execution, and persistence. They then do privilege escalation, internal reconnaissance, impact, and extortion. And the help desk blind spot is right there, allowing all of that to happen. So to reduce risks associated with scattered spiders, there's a few ways to do that. Implement application controls, whitelisting for remote access tools, require phishing-resistant MFA for FIDO2 or PKI-based authentication, restrict the use of RDP, develop and evaluate continuity plans, enforce NIST-compliant password policies. Really, at the end of the day, it goes down to one thing. You've got to get your help desk trained to deal with this. They got to understand the threat. They've got to validate the customer. And once they validate the customer, everything will get better from there. The Embargo Ransomware gang has handled at least $34 million in about a year. The group could be the successor to Black Cat and Alpha V. Ransomware operation is associated with at least 34.2 million in cryptocurrency transactions after popping up in mid-2024, according to researchers. This is coming from TRM Lab, saying the Embargo Ransomware gangs appears to be well-resourced and technically capable over a short span of time, underscores the group's growing financial footprint in the ransomware ecosystem. Embargo started to draw scrutiny in late 2024, just a few months after Black Cat's leaders appeared to conduct an exit scam on affiliates. Like Black Cat, Embargo is a ransomware as a service. They provide affiliates with the tools they need to conduct attacks while taking a cut of any of the proceeds. They've been going after healthcare, business services, and manufacturing companies. Ransom demands have been as high as 1.3 million, with embargoes highly advanced and aggressive ransomware. The group did claim attacks on a Georgia hospital here in November of 2024 and the California health systems back then. So keep an eye out for them. And finally, 2 different firms testing the newly released GBT5 both find its security sadly lacking. This is after Grok failed to jailbreak in 2 days. GBT5 fell in 24 hours to the same group of researchers. Separately and almost simultaneously, red teamers from SPLX declare GBT's 5 raw model is nearly unusable for enterprise out of the box. Even OpenAI's internal prompt layer leaves significant gaps, especially in business alignment, kind of showing you just how fast AI is evolving. Security isn't catching up. It's creating these loopholes, and these researchers that are very, very smart are finding these loopholes and highlighting them, and kind of showing you how these models could be hijacked. In controlled trials against GPT-5 chat concludes Neural Trust, they successfully jailbroke the LLM, guiding it to produce illicit instructions without ever issuing a single overtly malicious prompt. This proof of concept exposes a critical flaw in safety systems that screen prompts in isolation, revealing how multi-turn attacks can slip past single prompt filters and intent detectors by leveraging the full conversational context. And this really does go into the idea of what we need is general control of the model, right? So that you're not looking at just one prompt, you're looking at a series of prompts and looking at the results it's bringing and then analyzing that in order to make a decision as to whether or not this is good or bad. And then if it's bad, you kind of take it away. That's something that's really missing in these models that will be required at some point. That's it for our show this morning. If you haven't checked out cyberhubpodcast.com, please consider doing so right now. You can get this podcast and so much more available there, including our AI and cybersecurity. The last month in my life have been nothing but AI and cyber, from Israel to Hacker Summer Camp and everything in the middle. I share all of my thoughts, all of my impressions right there at cyberhubpodcast.com. So go check it out, subscribe. It's absolutely free. You also get this podcast in written format with an action plan directly in your inbox after. So go check it out there. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern live with all the latest and greatest. Until then, have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.